In a world where information comes flooding at you from every direction, where a global network of text, music, and video is available right at your fingertips, you need information that's accurate, reliable, current. In a word, you need information that's credible. But how do you decide what's credible? Whom can you trust? Think of credibility as a sliding scale. At one end are the sources that are unreliable, unvalidated, and without legitimate references. At the other end of the scale are resources from people with credentials, information that can be validated, and references that are reliable. Let's take a look at this challenge using an example that's been in the news recently. No doubt you've seen the reports of reanimated corpses attacking and eating people. But from where have you been getting your information? Is it the tabloids, blogs, academic journals, the mass media?
Mass hysteria. What do they think? We're imagining all this? Shut up!
How do you know what resources are better than others?
The eastern third of the nation is being committed by creatures who feast upon the flesh of their victims.
Well, no matter what your resource, one of the first questions you should ask is, who's the author? Who wrote it or said it? What are their credentials? What makes them an authority? Are they considered an expert on the topic? For example, here's a blog posting about the zombie apocalypse. The authors of this post are a pair of cats. And no, I'm not making this up. There are blogs on the internet written by cats. Here's another blog post. Immediately I see some things that allow me to gauge the credibility. First, this blog is from the United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Second, there is a link where I can read about the author and check his level of expertise. It turns out this post is written by an Assistant Surgeon General and a leader in the CDC's Office of Public Health Preparedness and Response. Much better credentials than a cat. There are also links where you can get more information about the blog itself, including disclaimers and policies. Some other things to look for when evaluating a resource for credibility. Currency. How current is the information? This shows when the page was last reviewed and updated. It also indicates the content source, in other words, a reference for you to verify the content for yourself. Contact information is another plus on the sliding scale of credibility. So these are all features that I'll look for in other resources as well. Generally speaking, government resources, whether published documents or online ones, are good, credible resources. They also tend to be good sources of statistics and data. A search of the web will bring up a variety of resources. This document has some good features, but lacks others that help establish credibility. For example, here we see the purpose of the document and that the authors are affiliated with some prestigious universities. But we don't know the credentials of the authors. Are they freshman students? Are they tenured professors? Are they staff members in the parking office? I also noticed that the URL is from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. That may make a resource more credible than one from a .com, but again, that alone would not be enough. This document also contains research data and also references. Those elements give it credibility, but you have to examine the quality of the data and the references. Finally, there's no indication that this paper was published anywhere, thus no indication that it went through either an editing or peer review process. What about the credibility of a book? That depends. For example, there's a difference between a research-based scientific study and a celebrity biography. Once again, you look for things that establish authority or expertise. This book is published by a well-known academic press and contains references. But just like with the blogs, you still want to see if the author has the credentials, education, or experience that make him an authority. And while books may be edited for typos, grammar, plagiarism, or libelous material, they may not have gone through a peer review process. Here's a chapter from a book which has a lot of good features for establishing credibility. It lists the author's credentials, plus provides contact information for them. It shows us the names of the editors, and contains research data and references. While conducting your research, there are all types of primary resources that may be valuable as well, such as personal interviews, diaries, letters, photographs, etc. Just apply the same standards of credibility to these that you would to any other resource. And then there are periodicals, which are resources that are published periodically, such as newspapers and magazines. Within this category, there are popular and news magazines. These are written by reporters, staff writers, and freelancers. Their work usually involves research, and the articles in these magazines go through an editing process, so they do have a degree of credibility. There are also publications that are known as trade journals. Articles in trade journals also have to stand up to the scrutiny of editors, and many times they are written by working professionals in the field. This can place them slightly higher up the credibility scale. And finally, you may hear your professor talk about scholarly or academic journals. These resources are generally considered to be at or near the top end of the credibility scale because the articles are written by experts in their fields and they have gone through a peer review process. Articles in scholarly journals tend to be specialized. For example, if you were researching migratory patterns of the undead or you wanted to know where to find the best escape routes, you might consult the journal Social and Cultural Geography. Nursing students may be more interested in the Journal of Clinical Nursing's article on the nurse's role in a zombie epidemic. This covers such topics as immediate limb amputation in the case of a bite from an infected host, or decapitation in the event of reanimation. You can study clinical findings in the Lancet or symptoms and incubation period in the British Medical Journal. As you would expect, these scholarly journals contain the elements for establishing good credibility, such as author credentials, contact information, and references. And no, once again, I'm not making this up. So when writing a research paper, you want to make sure that your sources are credible. Ask yourself if the information can be verified. Are there other sources that corroborate it? In other words, ask the question, according to whom? How current is the information? Could it be important if the information has been revised or updated? Is the information from a primary or secondary source? Is the author an individual or a group of people? What qualifies them to be writing about this topic? Good research is the foundation for a well-written paper. And remember, if you need help, ask a librarian.